Welcome to another edition of Sports Junkies here at RacinSportsZone.com. Steve Sparky Fifer here from Sports Radio 105.7 The Fan in Milwaukee. Gery Woelfel, of course, with the Racine Journal-Times. Time to do a little packet football talk with Mr. Woelfel. Gery, the Packers...
That's the first time you ever called me Mr. in your life.
Probably the last. Yeah. Packers traveled to Miami to take on the Dolphins. One of the bigger concerns in talking to people, talked to Josh Thinnan on Tuesdays. He's on our afternoon show every Tuesday at 4:35, and he even brought up the fact that the heat is going to play a factor, especially with the bigger guys like the offensive line. I mean, you're talking 85, 90-degree weather, and you're coming from 45, 50-degree weather and 20-mile-an-hour winds in Green Bay yesterday to the point where the jug machines they couldn't use for punts because it was just blowing the ball all over the place. So what kind of impact do you think that has on the Packers?
I think it's going to have very little. I think the heat's going to be on the Dolphins. I think they're feeling the heat already down there. The whole coaching staff, the front office, etc.
They got to make the playoffs.
They do. Their expectations are much higher than what they've shown so far. And the Packers are, starting to get their act together. So I really don't envision any kind of problem for the Packers.
Let's talk a little bit about that quarterback situation for the Dolphins. Ryan Tannehill is the quarterback there. Matt Morris is backup. Hearing a couple of guys down in Miami talk about it, it sounds like the fans are restless with Tannehill right now, that he's just not consistent enough and he's not taking that next step. And then on top of that, you spent all your money for Mike Wallace, the wide receiver that they get from the Steelers a couple of years ago, and he hasn't been that long, deep threat, being able to make that connection with Tannehill. So it really hasn't worked out for Wallace, and Tannehill needs to take that step. He's got a hot wife, but he still needs to get better on the football field.
Why does it always turn to that?
Just look it up on the internet. Google it. Lauren Tannehill. Gorgeous.
Okay, but you know why Tannehill's in Miami to begin with, right?
Why?
Because who was his college coach?
Sherman.
And who was the offensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins?
Mike Sherman. No longer there.
Exactly. Right. Who went to bat to bring in Tannehill?
Yeah, sure.
So all of a sudden, the first piece of the puzzle, the big piece, is gone. And all of a sudden, there's going to be more attention put on Tannehill because it's not our guy anymore. It was Sherman's guy. So I like the kid. I mean, again, it's going to take him a couple of years, and everybody knew that coming in. But
this is year 3.
This is obviously a big business. It's win now. We don't think it's not like the NBA where you say, 3-4 years we're going to be really good. In the NFL, it's all about today.
The other thing is you look at the Dolphins, and the one thing they do well is they run the football well. Something the Packers have struggled against. They did well against the Vikings, but there was no threat of passing the football. There's more of a threat passing probably with Tannehill this week, but they get Noshawn Moreno back off of injury. Lamar Miller played really well while Noshawn Moreno was out, so a two-headed backfield that could cause problems for the Packers.
Yeah, I mean, again, I just don't see how the Packers are going to have any problems with this team. They really seem to be clicking on all cylinders for the most part.
It was the Vikings.
I know, but
I'm just saying it was the Vikings.
I agree. I'm not going to overreact to that game, but I don't see the Dolphins being that much better than the Vikings.
Oh, I think they are. I think they're better. How much? Well, I think they're better on the defensive side of the football than the Vikings are right now. And on the offensive side of the football, they're more of a threat to run the football. They have 2 talented running backs, more so than Asiata and McKinnon were. From Minnesota. Now, you put AP in Minnesota, okay, well, that changes
things. Yeah, absolutely.
But he's not there. He's not going to be there.
And if you had your starting quarterback, that would have been different, too. What is the spread, by the way?
I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not
I would say it's at least 8-9 points.
You think it's that much?
I do, but...
See, the other thing, too, is you look at this Packer football team coming in, you now are in a situation, again, with Jared Boykin. Doesn't look like he's going to play, not practice again this week. And now they elevate Ken Dorsey from the practice squad, another wide receiver. So now, Nelson and Kyle, okay. Then after that, it's Devontae Adams, Jeff Janis, and Ken Dorsey. Those now are your other 3 wide receivers.
That doesn't really matter. That doesn't really matter in that system. I mean, go back to Mike Holmgren. It's just like plug in a wide receiver, your products of your system. They have never had a great superstar wide receiver. I mean, like a Kelvin Johnson, Andre Johnson.
No, I agree.
A big-time A.J. Green. Yeah. They've had very good receivers and a lot of,
Some will argue Jordy Nelson is in that class.
He's certainly on the brink, I think.
All right, so you got the Packers rolling the Dolphins.
Yeah, I do. I don't think it's going to be much of a game. What do you think?
I'll say the Packers by 10.
Yeah.
By 10.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. Last week against the Vikings, I said roll off the helmets on the air, and everybody chastised me. But that's really what it was. But I think this game will be close. I think it'll be a game going into the fourth quarter. I think it'll still be close.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if the Packers can deliver a knockout punch early. I mean, if they come out...
They're 21-0.
Yeah, exactly. It's all over.
That's over.
Because I don't think that team has any heart, referring to the Dolphins.
You can't put Tannehill in a spot where he's got to rally the troops. You're dead.
Right.
You have to keep it close and use your running game and be effective.
And you know, it's like the Packers shutting down Patterson, with Minnesota. You take...
Well, he got hurt, too.
Right. You take him out, you take... Mike Wallace out of the equation.
That's it.
I don't know where they go.
Brian Hartline. I mean,
yeah, there you go.
But I mean, that's really all they have left. He is Gery Woelfel of the Racine Journal-Times. I'm Steve Sparky. Fifer will do a little more Packer talk next week. We'll talk about what the Packers did to those Miami Dolphins right here at RacineSportsZone.com.